Hi, this is Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin. This isn't specifically about Kentucky, although it very much applies to Kentucky. But I want to speak to you briefly about the battle that we are seeing in this country and frankly around the world between socialism and capitalism. For some reason, socialism, because of a few noisy people, has become sort of sexy and edgy here in America. And a whole lot of people who should know better are espousing this. Let me say quickly, you can call it whatever you want, socialism, Marxism, communism, whatever ism you want to put to it. They're all variations on the same theme, and they have never, from the beginning of time, ever worked, ever. Take a look at what's happening right now in a remarkably oil-rich nation of Venezuela. Just south of us, the next continent down in South America, this country that is blessed with an incredible abundance has been overtaken by socialists, and now they are reaping the result of incredibly bad policy. What you now see is that simple things like a dozen eggs, if you can even find them, are about $10 a dozen in Caracas, Venezuela. Just this past week, you could have gotten the very same dozen eggs for as little as 88 cents at Kroger's around Kentucky. That's just one thing, but you can apply the same thing to any number of other things. The inflation rate is out of control. Why? Because when there is no wealth production and only wealth consumption, the gig is up, and that's where they are. At the December of last year in Venezuela, the inflation rate was 1.7 million%. And 1 month later, in January of this year, it was 2.7 million%. That means the cost of everything is going up so exponentially that to the extent that it exists, most people can't afford it. And now, even as I'm recording this, there is very little electricity in the entire country, including in the capital, being plunged largely into darkness. And yet we have people in this country, starting with the vast majority of those that are running for president on the Democrat side of things. This shouldn't be political, they just happen to be on that side, who are espousing that we follow a similar path. I would challenge any of you to point to an example of where this has worked. Is it working in Venezuela? Has it worked in Cuba? Did it work in the Soviet Union? You can pick the place. The bottom line is it does not work. The people who most appreciate and value the freedoms and the liberty that we have are those people, ironically, who have lived under one of the environments that I've just described. The people who come here to America and value what so many of us have the luxury of taking for granted. I would encourage you, please, if you are a young person watching this, to please inform yourself, educate yourself, talk to your peers. If you are an older person, pour into young people. Encourage them to understand that socialism, by its very definition, only takes wealth from others and redistributes it. You often see me wearing this button right here. It's a pair of scissors cutting through red tape. Because we are shrinking the size of government, not expanding it here in Kentucky, we have more Kentuckians working than ever before, the lowest level of unemployment that we've ever had in our entire history as a state. We actually have more people participating in the workforce than we ever have before. We have had $18 billion worth of private capital invested in our state in the last 3 years. We've created 50,000 new jobs that didn't exist just a couple of years ago. These are the kind of things that happen when you shrink the size of government, not expand it, because there's dignity in work, there's excitement in this. I'm a big believer that capitalism, while it is not perfect, because there is no perfect solution. Why? Because it's run by imperfect people, no matter what the approach is. But capitalism has done more to bring people out of poverty and into opportunity since the beginning of time than any other form of government or any other economic program ever put into place. We, the people, have a responsibility to speak up, to stand up, to defend the values and the principles that have made this nation the greatest nation in the history of the world. Our state motto here in Kentucky is a simple one. You're familiar with it. United we stand, divided we fall. Those of us who understand the greatness of America, the principles that it stands upon, the sacrifices that have been made to afford us this ability to live freely in America, in Kentucky, in wherever it is that you happen to be as you watch this. We must be united. United we stand, divided we fall.